We're all going to have our own auditoriums. We're going to have our own little spank holes. And
welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
All right, everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott. Yeah, that's about right. And from Music Video Sins, Barrett Scher.
It's been one of those weeks.
The reason we're sighing is probably way too much to get into, but we're back at our old, like the first 3 episodes recording place.
Yes. Studio belonging to a friend of the show.
Yes.
And so we're here because, a
comedy of errors.
A comedy of errors. Yeah.
Basically, a demon ate a podcast. We did a podcast Tuesday, another Mount Rushmore. We did composers. All 3 of us came out of it going like, that was one of the best ones in a long time.
That's the funniest part.
Yesterday or the day before, Barrett emails and he's like, guys, it sounds like we're robots. There's some kind of digital distortion happening. And we thought we were going to get it fixed, so we gathered our friends from Modern Horrors last night to try and do an October horror-related, movie club podcast, and the demon was back. And we tried everything. We sat there talking to these guys who are awesome, and, we would love to hang out with them even if we weren't recording a podcast. But, we updated Windows, we updated the audio software, I'm pretty sure we updated Notepad, tried everything, and just couldn't get it to go. And we now have it fixed, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we gather at Chris's house today at the studio, and lo and behold, this is the day the construction workers next door at this house that has taken 8.5 years to build have decided to bring in 2 bobcats and create like a ski slope swale literally outside the window of the studio.
Yep.
And so we were panicking, thinking, well, there's only 3 days until the podcast needs to come out. Let's go over here and do what we can and get an episode going.
Yep, there it is.
So today this is basically a no frills type of podcast. We're going to be doing mailbags.
Mailbag!
The entire time, which is good because it means we'll be able to answer a whole bunch of questions rather than just a handful. Just in order to give you, our dedicated podcast listeners, something to listen to on Monday. We're going to be doing this.
Yeah, and we don't want to do the Mount Rushmore of composers again because it was so fresh 2-3 days ago. I think we would all sound a little fake going through the same.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even think about him.
Yeah, exactly. And this happened once before with a podcast we lost, and we waited a couple of months and did it again. It turned out great. So we'll probably do another Mount Rushmore soon, but we'll move on from composers and come back to it later. We don't have the Modern Horrors guys today to do the Horror October pod, hence the mailbag.
It will happen, though, and it's going to be awesome.
And when, by the way, when you cut together the audio clips right before we get into the mailbag discussion, you should use something from Miracle on 34th Street when they dump all those letters on the judge's bench.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Mailbag.
Yeah.
Mailbag.
That's right.
It's a mailbag.
Somehow I made that dirty. Mailbag.
Plus, we get a chance to be, like Chris said, we don't always get to all of the questions. We get a ton of questions via email, via Reddit. There's a specific question thread on our subreddit.
Yep.
Twitter, SoundCloud. You guys keep them coming, and we wanted to tear into some of the ones that we've answered, we've actually thought about. We've put, background into this, but we haven't had a chance to get to them. So this is our chance.
Yeah, now we're going to catch up.
So let's pretend like we've just done 2 hours of a podcast and go straight to questions.
All right. I want the truth.
That's right.
Question. I understand the post office receives thousands of these letters every year.
Do you have any other questions for me, counselor?
I got something to say. Now, can't you give me a straight answer anymore? I want the truth. I am listening.
All right, let's do it. Hey, guys, I haven't seen Dan in real life more than a couple of times since it was released. Okay.
More than me.
But one scene really stuck with me. When Steve Carell and Dane Cook sing, "Let My Love Open the Door," really it's just Carell singing that last verse in a somber tone. What are your favorite moments that a song's tone was used to elicit an opposite feeling? Very interesting question.
It is a very interesting question, and apparently hard to read. But the first thing I thought of was the Beach Boys' "Good Vibrations" at the end of Vanilla Sky.
Oh, it's
where
perfect.
he's running around screaming tech support and basically having a reality mental breakdown.
Yep.
And you just hear this boppy, "I'm picking up,"
while he's screaming, "It's all a nightmare!"
Yeah. And, that is almost the best example I can think of juxtaposition there in terms of the original intent of the song and how it's used in the film. That was the first thing I thought of.
That's a great pick.
Yeah.
Because he's in the body of the building before
Right.
he goes up to the very top.
Right.
And then we figure out that, and again, I think it is declarative in the fact that it is not reality, right? Like after the club incident, he is in cryosleep, right? Yeah.
Yep.
That's such an interesting movie, such an underrated movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, the original's great, too.
Yeah, I got to see that. What do you think?
I don't have anything nearly as good as Good Vibrations. And by the way, that song still goes so well with what's going on in the movie. It's weird because yes, it is so contrary to what's happening, but I've got like three little snippets. One, I've mentioned the happy music that plays in Jaws when they're carrying the shark behind them, and it's like this, it's almost like they're just out, having a picnic or something like that. And it is kind of funny because I think by the end of that happy music, they do go back to the violins and everything, but Hallelujah in Watchmen.
Man, what a great pick.
Yeah. It's an obvious one, but come on.
That has got to be one of the most... that actually, I don't think works as well as they were intending.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, of course
and
not.
you look at the lyrics of the Leonard Cohen song, you can kind of see some sexual imagery here and there, but so many people have so many different interpretations of what Hallelujah is. I have no idea why that song is picked for that sex scene, which is completely out of place in itself.
Yes, I agree. Everything about that scene is out of place.
Well, you could use, because people use that song as like a mirror for whatever feeling that's supposed to be going on, whether it's sexual intercourse, whether it's fucking Shrek loses his friends or something like that. Like that song is about like you said, like a million different things because there's 80 fucking verses to it.
Yeah,
but I've always interpreted it as a sad song. Like it always hits me as a very mournful kind of song, not the way it also often gets used as a celebratory song.
Mm-hmm.
Like hallelujah, we won the Shrek fight.
And I think in Shrek they use it during a sad moment,
it's a lament.
But in Watchmen it's a euphoric moment because these two they I don't know if the movie or even the source material does this any justice, but you get the idea that this is a couple that should have happened long ago or whatever, and maybe that's the reason why Hallelujah is playing. But in the movie, it doesn't really come off like they've been pining for each other this long, and it's like finally they're doing it.
Well, it's also he was impotent before then, right?
Oh, I don't even.
Like
remember.
I think there was a section where. Because he's like Night Owl or something like that, and I think he was unable to get it up.
Wasn't he like? Didn't he like bang her mom back in the day? And
I
now he's
believe so.
banging her?
He did? No, not the. Patrick
It was Jeffrey
Wilson
Dean
character.
Morgan was.
Yeah,
banging
Jeffrey
him.
Dean Morgan did.
Oh, okay.
Because
that would have had another layer.
Well,
of
that's
context.
a whole different story in that whole thing. But there was two other little minor things I wanted to bring up. I know that Every Breath You Take is used as a love song a million times in movies, and it's definitely not. And even that's to Sting's lament as well, because he's over the years he's like, I don't understand why people use this song as a they'll use it as a wedding song almost. It doesn't make any sense. And it was the story behind that is he had just broken up with his wife or girlfriend or something, and he actually had a moment of like just obsession or whatever during that whole thing, and that's the reason why he wrote that song. But it's right there in the lyrics. It doesn't even you don't even have to whatever.
Not hiding it at all.
There's another one. I don't know if the Carpenter Superstar was I know it's played at a happy tempo and everything. I don't know if it's supposed to be sort of ironic or whatever, but in the High Tension trailer,
they
use the Mott the Hoople version of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it's the Mott the Hoople version.
It's not Sonic Youth? Sonic Youth.
It might be Sonic Youth.
Yeah.
It might be Sonic Youth, but the one that's like, don't you remember?
Yeah, that's Sonic Youth.
Yeah, that one. So yeah, the that song is awesome, going over the High Tension horror trailer, because it's like a whole bunch of like real bloody shit going on and everything, and it's they're playing that Superstar. So anyway,
that's good call.
It's interesting that I had in middle school, I think right at the end of middle school, I had a teacher that he was a coach and everything, and we were kind of close, and he was like, Barrett, made a mistake, man. I had the song stuck in my head, and I was walking by one of the girls in class and checking her homework and stuff like that, and it was "Don't Stand So Close to Me."
Oh no!
He was like humming it to himself.
Oh no!
He was like, do you think anybody would recognize that? I was like, nobody. Yeah. Nobody our age is going to recognize that except for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, don't do that again. He was like, yeah, Coach Morris. Yeah, what are you going to do?
We talked about that song at one point, didn't we?
We did.
In one of these podcasts.
Oh yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Oh, it was all.
The police songs are never like, if you think they're happy, they're really just real fucking dark and serious.
Seriously.
Yeah. Well, somebody like Puff Daddy will appropriate it for his Biggie thing. The Sonic Youth version of Superstar was used in Juno. That's what I really remember it from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But it's that real somber,
mm-hmm.
somber version.
Baby.
Yeah.
Baby.
And now I'm beginning to. Did Mott the Hoople do a version of that song? I'm beginning to wonder. Maybe I'm just confusing it.
You just wanted to say Mott the Hoople.
I did. I wanted to show how awesome and smart I was, but then I was really talking about Sonic Youth.
No, but they did do the Hoople.
What?
They did a song called The Hoople.
But they didn't do a cover of Superstar? Interesting.
Okay, so
it does kind of sound like them.
It was just Sonic Youth. Maybe because I watched Juno, they do discuss Mott the Hoople.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe that's where I get the whole thing confused.
Interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't think, in modern history, I don't think there's been a song that's more associated with a movie than Where's My Mind and Fight Club.
Mm-hmm.
Which is funny because Where's My Mind is just like this anthemic, like just kind of, plotting type of rock song. But it's about, it's Black Francis, the lead singer. He was swimming in the Caribbean and he got chased by some fish. And that's literally what it's about. Wow. Writing this thing. But the melody is so like earwormy that you can put it with anything. But now if anybody hears that song, they're going to be picturing the buildings collapsing, at the end of Fight Club.
Well, and I feel like the tone of that song fits the imagery of the end of that movie, even if the lyrics don't. Yeah. And I think that's probably why it was chosen.
Yeah. And then there's another example in modern culture of 2003's Hey Ya. You remember Andre 3000? Mm-hmm. There was a guy on YouTube that like slowed it down. Everybody's doing this now, where immediately after a song is released, there's going to be an acoustic, like mopey cover of it.
Yes.
But when somebody did that with this, like that's a pretty fucking sad song, like overall.
Yeah.
Except for like "Lend Me Some Sugar, I Am Your Neighbor." Anyway, but yeah, so it's kind of a weird thing. It is cool to think about using songs in a different context and getting something completely different out of them. All right. What are the best movies and or TV shows that lampoon Hollywood? That's always a fun one.
This is a good one.
Yeah.
Well, we got to give a shout out to State and Maine, because that's basically our adopted son on this podcast. And there's that movie is maybe the best. I mean, there are a lot of movies that do a good job parodying or aping Hollywood. It's been going on for a while, but this is one of the best. I mean, you can go back to Singing in the Rain, and the large part of that plot is lampooning Hollywood, and how the divas behave and how the stars behave and so on and so forth. So State and Maine, if you still haven't seen it, get that one.
Yep.
But I've got a couple others, but I don't want to take somebody else's, so somebody else share next.
You know what's been like it was lost to the mass of movies that came out last year, but I really enjoyed Hail Caesar.
Yeah, I kind of did too.
I feel like Hail Caesar is going to end up being like what we think of, maybe not to like the Big Lebowski levels, but maybe to like Barton Fink levels or Miller's Crossing or something like that in the Coens repertoire. Because I think it's sneaky good. It's got like really memorable characters. It's got horrible, crazy exaggerations of Hollywood types back in the Golden Age and all that stuff. And it's all just kind of anchored by Brolin's gruff, get shit done type of characters.
Yeah.
So it's really good. If you haven't seen it, I recommend you check it out. Did you not like it?
I've seen it. I didn't really like it very much.
Well, especially when they hire the good-looking guy to be in that one movie, and he can't say the simplest of fucking lines.
Oh my god, that's
and then
such a great scene.
Yeah, and and the whole thing is perfect Coen's, because the line itself is, "If only it were that simple," and
twir that it
was
was
that
so
simple.
yes.
I guess it's a little bit more difficult than it is, but like twir it all. He keeps messing it up over and over again, and then finally they just change it. Well, that's not that difficult or whatever.
Yeah, it's would that it were. That's what it was.
Would that it were.
Would that
yeah,
it were.
Yeah.
And then he's like, say it like this. Would that it were. And he's like, what would it were?
Yeah.
Oh my god. And it goes on for so fucking long.
Because yes, both parties are wrong here. One's a bad actor for sure, but the other one is trying to force this really shitty line into the movie, and he's trying to say it and he's. Do I need to concentrate on my acting? Do I need to concentrate on the line itself? Do I need to,
My dear
so
boy,
good.
what are you doing?
The player is probably the best at this.
Yeah.
I think. I love State and Maine, and I would suggest watching State and Maine and the player like back to back.
Yeah, man.
The player opens up with that huge unbroken shot, and it even goes to either there's a Hollywood pitch going on with Tim Robbins. And the guy who's in the room is actually a guy who either wrote The Graduate or came up with the story for The Graduate. And he's pitching The Graduate Part 2 and everything. And he's like, think about it. Our principal leads are still with us. And they're like, how do we make a story out of that? At the end of the last movie was so perfect and everything. And it goes through all that. Now the player, after that initial 20 to 30 minutes or whatever, becomes more a murder mystery. Well, not a mystery. We know who does it, but it becomes more of a will they catch Tim Robbins type movie. So it's not really. There are some movie things that happen after that, but all that first 30 minutes is the perfect send up of Hollywood.
I love that pitch where he's so insistent that they're not going to have a happy ending.
Yes.
They're not going to cast big stars. And then the very end of the movie, you see the end of this film where Bruce Willis breaks in and takes her out of the gas chamber.
Yeah, because the initial pitch is he gets there late. The gas bombs drop or whatever he calls them in there. The gas drops. He's gotten there too late. She's dead. There's not a dry eye in the house. and so who are you thinking about putting in this or whatever? And Dean Stockwell is his agent or whatever. He's like, we're thinking maybe Bruce Willis or something. It's like, no fucking Bruce Willis, no Julia Roberts, blah blah blah. This is reality. This is what happens and all that. And and then by the end of it, it's Bruce Willis and Julia Roberts. He saves her. She's like, what took you so long? He's like, traffic was a bitch. And they're in the screening room, and the Cynthia Stevenson character turns around and he's like, what happened to your ending? He's like, the reality is that the test audiences hated the ending. And the player is great at that. Also, Get Shorty is another one that I feel does it pretty well. I mean, both the player and Get Shorty aren't just about Hollywood. Obviously, they have their other story involved, but they still throw in all these jabs to Hollywood and everything in it.
I like how Travolta is so starstruck by these B movie actors and actresses. I'm a real fan of your work.
Yeah, and he knows it. He knows it intimately.
He'll quote a scene to Rene Russo's character.
Yeah.
When you were in the clutches of the sea monster.
Well, he goes to Touch of Evil, and he's sitting there quoting the movie before the movie says its line.
Well, the greatest thing is when he does that. He'll look around the theater to see if
he's just he's like, you're going down, Orson.
Oh man!
But also, you mentioned Barton Fink, but Ed Wood as well is another one that does that pretty well. I think Ed Wood and Barton Fink, you could watch those back to back pretty easily. Like there's a lot of the similarities between Ed Wood and Barton Fink as far as movies that the quality of movies that are being made. Yeah, all those would be good. I think that we could make a pretty good week of watching State and Maine, The Player, Get Shorty, Barton Fink, and Ed Wood.
Yeah. I wanted to mention Larry Sanders Show.
Oh yeah,
Nice.
Which I think gets overshadowed in its greatness because HBO has had even more success since then. But it had a good long run. It was consistently funny. And it's just lampooning those late night talk shows and the actors and actresses that come in and the kinds of people that work there and write for the show, the kind of person the host would be behind the scenes. Gary Shandling anchors that show. Jeffrey Tambor is also awesome in it. So I wanted to bring that one up as well.
Every time Larry Sanders Show is brought up, I think of this one part where like Larry's card is being used and there's somebody stealing his money or something like that. And so Rip Torn is in there with him and talking like, so who has your like PIN number and everything? And he starts going down this like laundry list of people. And he's like, okay, well, you've narrowed it down to the entire Pacific Rim.
That was like in the late 80s, early 90s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who would have thought that in 2017, like the talk show model is still around?
I mean, it must be something. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I haven't watched that kind of show probably since college when Letterman was kind of at his peak and I was a big Letterman fan. I don't understand it, but it's the same with the daytime talk shows. That model hasn't changed either. I don't get it.
Well,
I feel like people would get tired of it eventually.
I don't know. I think the kind of people who do watch those things haven't changed, though.
Yeah, maybe.
It may be, because I always, like Conan O'Brien was like appointment viewing for me. When he
in
was
the
on
early years, yes.
The Late Late Show, or no, it wasn't the Late Late Show. It was the one that was after the Tonight Show.
Right.
Like that heyday. Because he was able to do this crazy subversive shit, and he was a good interviewer. And that's what all these people are the current crop are missing these days, because like you'll have a really good monologue. Colbert does a wonderful monologue. Of course, it's a one-man show about Trump at this point. But he'll go from like excoriating like a public figure to sitting down with like fucking Julia Stiles. Not Julius. I don't know why Julia Stiles would be Julia Stiles. But like Kerry Washington or something like that. It'd be like, so what you been doing? But so like it just loses you when it gets to the interview section. What's funny, Letterman was always the greatest interviewer because I think it was Cameron Diaz that was on the show one time, and it was clear from like pre-interviews or whatever it was that she had nothing to say. Like it was a blank slate. So he asked her like a couple of like, softball questions, and she was just, it was almost like Anna Faris in Lost in Translation. Like, I got to learn karate and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And so after a while, he just kind of gives it a pause, and he's like, so how do you like making them movies?
Man,
you could tell that was where the interview was
watching Letterman go after a guest who's just not cooperative is the best thing ever.
Oh
my
so
God,
cringy.
he never put on any show that he was just going to fight through this.
Right.
He would always just, I mean, when Joaquin Phoenix was doing his, I'm still here bullshit and everything, like Letterman just was like, okay, well, I guess, we were supposed to have Joaquin Phoenix here tonight, but he's not with us today or something like that.
There was one part in that interview where he was like, well, I think it was at the end. He was like, all right, well, we'll see you next time. Maybe I'll come on your show and chew some fucking gum.
Yeah.
I miss that guy.
Yeah, he was just, he didn't suffer fools.
I'll also add just a little bit of The Godfather and how it portrays Hollywood. And, it's got the Jack Waltz character, which, who knows, at that period in time, that was the 50s that it's set in, right?
I think so.
Early 50s. And, it may be like that, where like the studio heads are, fucking the actresses and everything. And if somebody impinges on that, then they'll fuck them with the contracts and all that stuff,
Oh, Bowfinger.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a good one.
Bowfinger's another good
Yeah.
lampoon. Man, that movie's aging better and better for me. Like,
Have you
I
seen it
remember
recently?
when it came out, I liked it. And after a few years, I was like, well, I don't think it has that great a reputation, but I really like it. And I've seen it maybe a dozen times at this point, and I get sucked right in every single time because there's so many different people doing interesting things, like Eddie Murphy playing the geeky brother of Kit Ramsey is an Eddie Murphy I've never seen before. The nervous braces wearing, I just want to go get coffee. Anyway, that's another good one.
I wonder if that's the only movie that those two have ever been in together.
Steve Martin and Eddie Murphy?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I would guess.
That's prime of their careers, I guess.
No,
right
it was actually after Eddie's prime.
It was after Martin's, too. I
Yeah.
mean, it's why that movie didn't do well. It was like 99 when
Yeah.
it came out.
So Eddie Murphy had already made a bunch of shit.
Yeah, Eddie Murphy was, he was in the middle of his comeback, essentially. He had Nutty Professor and Dr. Dolittle, but he also had all this stuff like Holy Man and just a lot of like ridiculous, like, why did you pick this? This movie should not exist. Why did you pick that?
Well, did you ever see Holy Man?
Yeah, I did. I did.
Well,
I
I
don't
think
remember much about it, though.
Eddie Murphy's character, at least the Ramsey character in Bowfinger, is kind of lampooning that. He's kind of making fun of himself because he's crazy, and the way he picks his scripts is, I think I mentioned before, like one script had too many K's in it, divided by 3 or whatever. And then there's another scene in a diner where he's going off about white guys play an idiot and they get an Oscar. Go find me an idiot to play. Go find me, some black, Down syndrome guy or whatever. Yeah. Anyway, I think he's sort of making fun of and winking at himself a little bit. Yeah, I think so. There.
All right. This is a 2-part question. We'll answer the first part first, and then I'll give you the second part. What are some of your favorite movie casts? The cast for this person, the cast of Inception or any one of Nolan's movies, and the cast of Ex Machina have very few people in it, but they're all fantastic. So, what do you guys think of an ensemble? What is the all-star of movie casts?
Man, I had 3 answers for this, and I couldn't figure out which one, because you get those productions sometimes where all the actors have decided basically, okay, I don't need my regular salary, and I'm not going to be playing a big part and all that. Mm-hmm. I've mentioned JFK before in other circumstances, but the cast of JFK is unreal.
Who all's in that?
So you have Kevin Costner as the lead. You have Tommy Lee Jones. You have Gary Oldman playing Oswald.
Oh, yeah.
You have Joe Pesci. Kevin Bacon is in there. Donald Sutherland. Michael Rooker, Wayne Knight, Laurie Metcalf, Sissy Spacek, John Candy,
Jesus,
Lolita Davidovich, Jack Lemmon, Walter Matthau, Ed Asner, Vincent D'Onofrio, Brian Doyle Murray, and Pruitt Taylor Vince. And that's just the people that I just like immediately recognize. There's like others too.
That is a massive cast.
And a lot of these guys are playing small roles, but the people who are playing big roles like Costner, Pesci, Tommy Lee Jones, Gary Oldman, those are like, that's your meat of your cast right there. And that would be good. That'd be a good cast, period, for any movie. But somehow, some way, Oliver Stone basically just said, this is an important movie, and everybody, is going to take a little bit of a pay cut, probably going to pay scale for this, but, and everybody signed on.
Yeah, man.
That's
that is insane.
You ever look at the opening credits of the JFK movie? It's just like, just keeps going. And
like,
going,
oh my God.
You're like, holy crap, man.
Awesome. Good answer. So I went in terms of like number of great actors who all kill it. I got 2 answers, by the way.
All right.
So for that answer, I'm going with The Prestige. Because you've got Hugh Jackman, you've got Michael Caine, you've got Christian Bale, Scarlett Johansson, David fucking Bowie, Andy Serkis. Those 6 alone are enough, I think, to sell. If you like good acting and you didn't know anything about The Prestige, I think that list would. Oh, and Piper Perabo.
Yeah.
I think that list would sell you.
Coyote Ugly's Piper Perabo.
Well, there's also Rebecca Hall's in this too. Yep. A little before she kind of got famouser. But anyway, that cast always blows my mind. I know the question asker said most of Nolan's casts do. It's because he recycles so many of the same act. Michael Caine is always in his movies.
Even in Dunkirk.
Yeah, as a voice, and then in terms of like how well they meshed and how well everyone sunk into their roles, I went with Sneakers, which is another movie we talked about a bunch and probably adopted. But everybody is just perfectly cast. I guess that's what I mean.
Oh, yeah.
They're all most of them are playing roles unlike we've really ever seen them do before. I know that, eventually Ben Kingsley has gone on to play some other evil dudes, but, for me, it was like, oh, here's Gandhi. He's the villain? What the hell's going on? And Robert Redford's just playing Robert Redford.
Yeah.
But, River Phoenix is unique from his other movies in this role. Dan Aykroyd playing a wacky conspiracy theorist.
Yep.
David Strathairn playing a blind person.
Yep.
Everybody stretches a little, but it's just the casting director there should have won an Oscar because they're all perfect.
And they all have these. Every one of their unique abilities somehow manages to make its way into a great team.
Yeah.
And everything. It's that's why that movie's so fun. I love Ben Kingsley in that movie where it's like at the end where he's like about to kill Robert Redford and Redford's like, cause you can't do this or whatever. And he's like, I cannot kill my friend.
Yeah.
And he turns to his henchman, kill my friend.
Yeah. I still don't know what's up with his fucking accent in that movie.
Yeah.
It's just so weird.
Something he probably picked up in prison.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. I guess so.
I don't know.
I always thought that Dan Aykroyd got a little like short shrifted for his acting, because he had the run of Ghostbusters and all that stuff. But then like he does something like Sneakers. He was really good in My Girl.
Yeah, My Girl.
Driving Miss Daisy.
Yeah, that's right. And then in Grosse Pointe Blank and things like that.
Yeah, he's great in Grosse Pointe Blank.
He's got a pretty big range, and I guess just because he wanted to produce or direct or write or something like that he didn't really explore.
He's
I've
getting
never
cranky
really
in
heard-
old age.
I've never really heard any stories about Dan Aykroyd, whether he's difficult or.
I don't think he's difficult, but he's spoken out a couple of times against the new Ghostbusters movie, just in the last few months even.
And he appeared in it, so
He was in
what's
it.
a big fucking deal, bitch?
I don't know. I guess he got a paycheck.
Yeah.
I ain't
Bill
afraid
Murray's
of
was
no
bigger.
ghosts.
Yeah.
Another movie that we've talked about a lot, but I cannot stop watching it whenever it comes on. Glenn Ross, man.
Mm-hmm.
Top to bottom. Al Pacino, Jack Lemmon, Alec Baldwin in a blink and you miss it, but don't blink because that is one of the most amazing cameos of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got Alan Arkin, Ed Harris, Kevin Spacey, Jonathan Pryce.
Yeah.
Just getting, how Hollywood actors are like, man, I really want to do a play.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do like something that's real. I want to have like a real character to play. I think this is what this was. And they could actually like get a chance to act, do their acting thing. And they relished it. And this is, parts of the prime of many of these people, especially Pacino.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's right before Spacey hits his big stride.
Well, and, I from what I understand, this was by design too. They got Spacey because he was up and coming. They got Pacino because he's at the height of his. And he's not really at his peak at this point, but
it was a pretty was the second peak, I guess.
But Lemon, who was the obviously the guy who had a huge peak back in the 60s and 70s and everything, and then they get Baldwin, who was the hot shit at the time. He's coming off Hunt for October and all that. He was the hot shit, and I don't know how they did it, but there was something that they did to get natural animosity towards Baldwin on this movie too. Basically saying this hot shit actor is going to come in here because it might have been one of those almost like Saving Private Ryan things where they had everybody together, but then Baldwin comes in and just does his shit without any rehearsals or anything or whatever.
There's something
I don't
to
remember
that,
what
man.
it was.
I mean, it's like what Kubrick or what Hitchcock used to do to his actresses. Obviously, a lot of that goes up into and maybe crosses the line, but you get these amazingly authentic, raw performances out of these people, and
that new Angelina Jolie movie coming out, First They Came for My Father or whatever, First They Killed My Father, whatever it's called. Mm-hmm. Did you hear about the somewhat controversy around her casting process? Because she gave an interview, movie stars kids, poor kids. And
I heard about
in the audition, they played this game with the kids where they put like $1 in front of them and asked them to imagine what they would buy with it, and then took it away to try and elicit the right amount of like sadness, I guess. Like it was a big controversy for a couple of days. She had to come out and like clarify and explain how there were child psychologists on set and all this other stuff. And I don't think it's going to be a thing anymore. But I mean, that kind of thing goes on all the time.
Yeah.
And that is just the casting phase. You're not even talking about shooting. It's just casting and they're fucking with you.
Fucking kids.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Okay, so the second part of this question, by the way, is with the impending release of Avengers Infinity War, I had a thought that's never been thought before. This cast is too big, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think we all agree on that. After this question was asked, my first initial answer was yes in my head. It's got to be because they're putting everybody in it. But I then went to the IMDb to take a look at it, and I started running across actors. This is how vast this Marvel universe is at this point. I was running across actors. I was like, "Oh, what is he playing? Oh, yeah, that was a normal Marvel movie, and I forgot that that he would be in an Infinity War or whatever." So it's so everybody, like it's everybody in Hollywood essentially.
Well, and it's like Martin Freeman is in it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because he was in one of those earlier ones.
It's everybody. Like the thing is it's everybody from the Avengers, which already is a huge cast. Then you get all those people from Civil War who ended up in Civil War.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
And that's what I was getting to. Guardians of the Galaxy gets in there, and that's where it really just starts getting crazy. And then you have all the people somewhat associated with all those, like Benicio del Toro is in there, like
Is he really?
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah, Gwyneth Paltrow,
Oh, yeah.
and everybody who has ever been in a Marvel movie is in the movie. So, and I'm sure it's most of them. It's like, "Hey, Tony, how's it going?" And then they say a joke and then they leave.
Or they'll get like a close-up action shot of them reacting to like these horrible events or something like that.
Yeah,
This is what's going to happen, and this is I'm more frustrated about this prediction than the big cast being a problem, because the big cast is going to be a problem. It was a problem in Civil War. Even if you adore that movie, there's too many people you have to shine the light on. My big concern is that they're going to kill someone finally, and then congratulate themselves on having the balls to kill someone after 18 movies.
Yes.
When they have had the opportunity to give emotional impact and kill someone early on. They've had killable characters ever since early on. They just haven't. Rhodey is going to be in this next movie in an Iron Man suit. So all that shit from the end of Civil War means nothing.
Nope.
That was a fake out. But this time they're going to kill someone. I promise. I think it's going to be Captain America. I don't have any insider knowledge. But they're going to be, them and the Marvel fanboys are going to be proud.
If they really wanted to make this fun, they would have put the original Fantastic Four cast in there, and Chris Evans would have had to play two characters.
and kill him. They should have killed him all.
Yeah, and killed him.
Kill the Fantastic Four.
That's right.
If they kill Captain America, it probably would be something like Superman and Batman versus Superman, right?
Here's the deal. And then see, DC's not any better because they killed Superman, but everyone knows he's coming back in this next movie. And so it's like the worst. It's the worst. You shouldn't even have killed him.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the point? You're not going to surprise me. But I think, okay, so Chris Evans has been the most vocal over the last 10 years of how exhausting it is and how he never really wanted to be this big of a movie star. And he's been in 3 standalone movies, 2 Avengers movies. He's going to be in Infinity War. I think he's tired, and I think there's comic precedent for either Steve Rogers dying or handing the mantle to Falcon, who becomes Captain America in his place. And I think that's what we're going to see happen.
Does that happen in the comic books?
I believe so.
Interesting.
But if it does happen, I hope he keeps the Falcon wings. So he's like Falcon America.
Oh, that would be great.
So he can still swoop and soar.
Can he, is there anything left of that serum?
What serum?
The serum that Captain America took.
Probably. Somewhere.
Yeah.
Buried in a vault with a computerized.
I would imagine that even if there was some shot footage of the last of that being used, there's a warehouse somewhere. Remember, everybody's like InGen or Umbrella in these movies.
Well, and that fucking metal, that vibranium, which is supposed to be rare, is fucking everywhere.
Well, in Wakanda it is.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying it's not very rare. They can at any point go, here's a dagger made of vibranium. It's indestructible. And no one's going to question it.
Yeah.
It's just how it works.
Yeah.
We kind of detoured off on the end there. My bad.
Okay. I have a question for the upcoming episode. Well, that's good timing. Something I really enjoy is when a movie makes the environment almost a character in its own right. Call it atmosphere or whatever, but it would be hard to imagine Lost in Translation taking place in anywhere but Tokyo, I agree, or Oh Brother, Where Art Thou set in any other time or place but the South in the 30s, even though it was based on the Odyssey. But okay, that's fine. What are some movies that you think do this the best? Yes, I know. I suck at reading questions today. I think the one of the recent examples, we haven't seen the new Blade Runner yet.
Right.
But in going back and watching the old Blade Runner, I guess I'm in the minority at this point that I actually liked it better when I watched it the second time. I saw that Aaron Dicer actually watched it like a couple nights ago or something like that and said that he had your opinion, you guys' opinion, basically, that you liked it maybe even a little bit worse.
Yeah.
But that, whatever city that is, well, that's in L.A., in like the dystopian L.A., God bless them. I know that they spend a lot of time on world building, but I kind of dig that environment. It was the first of its kind to put all that crazy shit up on the side of the walls and all that stuff. And, just the constant rain and the constant gloom. I get where Ridley Scott's going with it, and I dig it. I bet you whatever Denis Villeneuve is going to do is going to do that even better. Mm-hmm. But what I did also realize is that the Ghost in the Shell, the original Ghost in the Shell from 1995, takes a lot of stuff from Blade Runner, because it really sets up that city, wherever it is in Japan, as its own character, and it really has like lingering shots on cityscapes and things like that.
The movie's hypnotic, man.
It really is. And see, to me, Blade Runner was on the same level as Ghost in the Shell. Not something that like I'm gonna say I would pop in all the time or that I really, really love, but I do like it and I do appreciate it.
There's just too much. We don't have to make this whole discussion about Blade Runner here. We can do that some other time. Mm-hmm. It's just, there's a little bit too much silliness. There's a little, especially with the Harrison Ford and talking about holes and all this sort of stuff. And just the way it's plotted and everything. It feels like to me a movie that actually had trouble during production, which is what it is.
Yeah.
But I don't hate Blade Runner. It's just that it's not nearly as good as I'm always told that it is. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what ultimately it comes down to, is when I watch it, I'm like, this is solid, but man, why is everybody saying this is great?
Yeah.
Like it's transformative, that type of thing.
I'm going to shout out David Simon's TV shows, The Wire in Baltimore, Treme in New Orleans, where I think he literally said when he was starting to make that show that it was about the city, not any of the people that are going to be in the show. And that's I suggested Treme to so many people. You guys seen it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I saw the first season.
And so many people can't get into it. And that's kind of the similar with The Wire, but both of those cities are complete and total characters. And then his new show with James Franco, The Deuce, which is on, I believe, HBO, is like doing the same kind of thing with 70s New York.
Oh, really?
Because it's like basically the boom of the porn industry. So, it's probably nudity if that floats
Have you
your
seen
boat. I've seen a couple episodes.
Is it good?
Yeah.
I hear... What I hear about that show is that Maggie Gyllenhaal has a lot of input in it.
Yeah.
Of like even the lengths of which they will go to shoot the pornography scenes without being pornography themselves.
Right.
Which I think is really cool. Like there's a collaborative process in there.
I feel like
that's where you get the best stuff.
I feel like David Simon just really cares about authenticity. But it's clear in all three of those projects that he wants the city to be the main focus. Anyway, so shout out to him. And then I also wrote down something like Dark City. Does a really good, the environment is a character kind of thing. Because you watch Dark City for the first time and you've never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
And then last shout out to Harry Potter movies. I think the Hogwarts is very well done in those movies as a sort of character itself, and that it doesn't work very well if that's not done well.
Well, I know, and that's why I don't like something like Deathly Hallows Part 1.
Yeah,
where I guess there's some sections at Hogwarts, but by and large, they're on the run. They're doing all this stuff. That's why I thought it was a ridiculous book. If you're going to cleave one in half, it should be, what was it, Order of the Phoenix? That was like 1,000 pages.
Even Prisoner of Azkaban, but a couple of the other books would have worked better to split up.
Yeah, because right in the middle of that book is exactly where that movie ends, when they're on the run. There's so many stretches of that book where they're doing nothing.
Yeah.
Harry and Hermione are like hanging out in this field or whatever, in this secret spot, and they can't go anywhere and they can't communicate. It's like, fuck.
That Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 proves that you can come up with any movie. This is why we have this discussion about Lord and Miller doing Han Solo movie and then getting fired and whatever. You can do any fucking Harry Potter movie and people will come out in droves to watch it. And that's exactly the fucking proof right there. Because that is nothing that happens in that first one.
No.
Except for, Ron Weasley gets pissed off because he thinks he sees, Harry and Hermione dancing or whatever. and it's that's about it. They're pissed off at each other. They're in the woods.
The kids in the woods.
Kids in the
Basically,
woods.
that's the movie. Kids in the woods.
Little boys in jungles running around.
I wasn't quite sure if this meant real places or what. I guess it doesn't matter. When the way this question was worded, I was kind of wondering if it meant I can't imagine this movie without the actual real backdrop of New York City or whatever. But Hill Valley in Back to the Future is what I thought of.
Good call.
Because I actually, when I thought about this, I was like, imagine Back to the Future in a big city. It wouldn't work. Wouldn't work at all.
Yeah.
And especially like when it's time for them to, go 80 miles an hour and hit the lightning and the clock tower and all the clock tower and that square so integrated into the plot.
Of all three movies.
Yeah, exactly.
Are all three set only in Hill Valley?
Yeah.
So like the casino and all that stuff is still Hill Valley.
Yep.
Yeah.
He goes to the exact same. So that's like a 30 square mile area where you got three movies.
Yeah.
I guess the train goes a little bit out of town.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I never really thought about that because you think about the big casino in part 2 and you think, oh, well, I guess they've moved to a different section.
The plot is that at that point, Biff has gotten so rich that he's turned Hill Valley into, I guess, Hell Valley. Did they say Hell Valley at one point?
I don't know. I don't think
They may have
so.
said Hell Valley, but yeah, it looks like a bigger city.
Yeah.
And it's mainly because of all this wealth and everything. But yeah, Hill Valley is just one of those things. Like almost everything about Back to the Future has to have that small town feel to it. And it started thinking about what if this was in New York City. Like it just completely different movie at that point.
Oh yeah, that's a good call.
I always forget how much skateboarding there is in that movie or those movies.
Yeah,
or hoverboarding.
Hoverboarding,
yeah.
Taking
the
off
very
little
beginning
scooters.
of the movie when he's late for school, he's skateboarding. You've got the chase scene.
Yeah.
And yeah, just about everywhere he goes, he's skateboarding somewhere.
Skateboarder's got a skateboard
because the DeLorean doesn't work, man.
Yeah, man. Okay, next one. There's an article in THR that says that Mother is bad because audience had to look up the meaning of the film. In honor of this, what film did you not understand the first time, researched it online, watched the film again, and fully understood what the theme was? For this person's example, he couldn't make head nor tail of Enemy when he first saw it. After some research, I watched the film again and saw Jake Gyllenhaal's fear of women and commitment symbolized through the film with the spider imagery. Now, I haven't seen that.
I've seen Enemy, and again, I think Denis Villeneuve has gotten to the point now where I'm seeing people who normally aren't like movie buffs are saying his name or at least trying to.
Yeah.
I recommend nearly everything that I've seen Denis Villeneuve do because Enemy is one of those movies. By the end of it, yes, you're going to be scratching your head. You're going to be like, "What the fuck," and all that. I had never heard of that description. Though it makes the movie a lot better in my. I liked it, even though I didn't really understand what the hell that imagery was.
Yeah,
it's just one of those. It's one of those fun what the fuck movies. You know? I'm going to say Eyes Wide Shut on this one. Eyes Wide Shut. I remember it was all the projectionists on that Thursday all had a print to build for Eyes Wide Shut. It was 3 prints, and we thought it was going to be like Basic Instinct.
Yeah.
And I remember telling all the projectionists, and I was like, we're all going to have our own auditoriums. We're going to have our own little spank holes. And
oh, fuck. There'll be a little Chris DNA on the.
And in hindsight, if that movie gives you a boner, there might be something wrong.
Right. So with that in mind, if you're thinking this is going to be the sexiest, like dirtiest fuck movie that's ever been made mainstream, and then you go and watch the movie, you're going to get disappointed.
Oh, yeah.
And we were disappointed. We're disappointed as fuck watching that movie. And it was later on, I guess, I was 22. I was 22 when that movie came out. When, you go back and you start like, man, Kubrick obviously had more in mind with this. So let's look into it. And I've seen some people who've written some seriously amazing things about Eyes Wide Shut. Reading that is almost as entertaining as the movie itself.
Yeah.
So when you talk about all the little various symbolism in there, and of course some people go way off the deep end, just like they did with The Shining.
Yeah, I mean, Kubrick, it lends himself to, he's got such a track record of intentional Easter egg, you could call it Easter eggs, or references or little things in the background that he's, basically given credence to, that you can read into a lot of this stuff, and it makes a certain amount of sense. They did the Room 237 movie on The Shining, which I thought was just a ridiculous movie.
Ridiculous, but it's insanely watchable. Like I don't go, and we're really going on tangent now, but that Room 237 movie, the thing about I love about, like, it's a conflicting type of movie, right? The people in there are ridiculous, but do we hate the movie because they're ridiculous? I love the movie because they're ridiculous.
Oh, they have to be. Yeah,
yeah, we can roll our eyes at all these things, but I was just digging what they were coming up with.
Oh yeah, especially because a lot of those theories start kind of reasonably. They're like, okay, he put this image of a can with a Native American in the background, and this, and then they go off the deep end. There's like a moment where like, I could be with you on this, and then it's it.
When they're thinking about like the basically the blueprints of the hotel, and like thinking about where all the rooms are in relation to each other, which is something I would have never thought of. It's just like thinking of movies in that kind of a deeper level is just fun for me, even if the theories are whack.
Yeah,
or whatever.
Did you just say whack?
I did say
nice.
whack. It's like
wiggity
whack, like we're in the early 90s. By the way, I did want to say about Mother. I have seen this movie. I can see why everybody hated it. And I'm not saying that to be glib. I actually enjoyed Mother because I think I got a lot of, once you get a bunch of people saying this is terrible, then you can go in and watch it.
Your expectations are way low.
The theory that I've read that I guess I agree with the most, but I have my own interpretation of it. There's all this stuff going on in the movie that this one theory says basically that I guess we could put a spoiler in if anybody cares. I don't know if it really ruins it to go with this interpretation, but we'll see what happens. Javier Bardem is a man married to Mother Nature is essentially what they're saying, and so there's all the characters that are coming into this house are this is like a history of time going through just a couple of days and weeks or whatever. So it's like a lot of stuff happens really fast. Like they have sex, Jennifer Lawrence, next morning I'm pregnant, like it's Species or some shit. So like a lot of the things in there happen really fast, like way faster than normal. Somebody dies, they have the funeral that day. It's like a party that night. It's like a lot of stuff. So the theory, there's one theory that it's the history of time told through these two people. I got a different interpretation of it because so many people were coming in uninvited to Jennifer Lawrence's house that it had something to do with the pictures that got online. There's so many people uninvited, so many people saying, what does it matter? All this other type of stuff. I was like, this seems like a kind of a sort of an exploration into her phone getting hacked.
That's interesting.
And at the end, and towards the end, there's a scene where like there's 1 million people in the house, and they're like tearing her clothes from her body and everything, and they're calling her whore and slut and all this other type of stuff. And I was like, that seems like the closest to my theory being true by the end of it than anything.
Well, it's like that Olivia Munn arc on network, or whatever that Sorkin show was about the
newsroom.
Yeah, because she had photos hacked back when she was dating Chris Pine. I guess she sent him some dirty photos and they leaked online, and then her character goes through the same thing on the show. I felt like the way they wrote her character was a way to try and help empower the actress to kind of take control of the story.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I don't know if that's what other people, I'm sure this is not like my own theory, but I'm sure there's other people who have thought that too, but that's what I got from it. Because I was sitting there like, what is the deal with this movie? Because it's not your typical horror movie or whatever.
Which is awesome. That's why I want to see it, because you're right. I'm kind of like you, where the expectation is not to go in and watch, some sort of psychological thriller. It's more of like to watch it in broad terms. And there's very few movies that you can go in and like expect that to say like, I'm going to kind of let this wash over me and see what I think about putting the pieces together.
I saw a quote from Aronofsky himself. Basically, I'm paraphrasing, but he said, if you've read the most famous book in the world, you shouldn't have any trouble understanding what's going on.
Right.
And people have taken that to say he's meaning the Bible. And I guess there's a lot of Madonna kind of imagery.
The characters are all named like biblical type of, not biblical names, but like biblical like ideas.
So it's almost like what do they call that? An allegory?
It's an allegory,
okay.
yeah. Like of Pilgrim's Progress or something like that.
Interesting.
I don't doubt that for one bit. That's probably it, if there wasn't it, to be interpreted. But I kept getting this, this whole, like, because Jennifer Lawrence is so featured in this movie and everybody's dropping in uninvited and doing all these things and basically being assholes about it. I got a whole different interpretation from it. By the way, Michelle Pfeiffer in this movie
interesting
is probably the best I've seen her in years.
Really?
I haven't seen Michelle Pfeiffer in a long time.
Yeah, no kidding.
But even when she was at her height, she wasn't usually like doing great work. She was always like, she was eye candy or like just solid enough to be in the movie. She had her like basic peak, like Married to the Mob and all that stuff was when that came out. She is so good in this. It sort of tells you, like, when you have somebody like Darren Aronofsky, directing a movie, people just bring their A game.
You ever see that movie where she's the teacher, the one Gangster's Paradise is from?
Dangerous Minds.
Yeah, there was a whole subplot where Andy Garcia was her love interest, and they cut everything related to him, which is humorous now that we know in Passengers they shot a bunch of extra Andy Garcia stuff. So it makes me wonder how many movies are out there that Andy Garcia was in, and we just didn't know it.
There's going to be a documentary one day called Andy Garcia Graveyard.
He's the actor. I love the idea that he's the one it happens to the most in all of Hollywood.
They're all like buried next to the E.T. Atari cartridges and shit. Okay, but so that was a serious derailment. I don't think you guys have answered this question.
So my answer may be cheating, but I'm going to go with 8 Mile. And I think I was a casual Eminem fan at the time of 8 Mile, and that movie and the song Lose Yourself ultimately pushed me deep into his musical catalog and made me a fan. And I appreciated the movie when I saw it. Now, I don't think it's any dramatic achievement worthy of Best Picture.
Yeah.
But I was able to enjoy the rap battle even without really necessarily knowing how much he was slinging at them. Like, I could get the part about this kid went to private school and he's playing all tough like he's from the street. I'm a smart enough white guy to get that. But I don't know rap history very well. And a few years ago on TechCrunch, of all places, there was an article over the weekend, and it was trying to basically pull inspiration for business owners and entrepreneurs from that last rap battle. And this guy breaks down every single lyric. You know what I'm talking about with Papa Doc, where he doesn't even rap back. And he's like, 4 Pac, 3 Pac, 2 Pac, 1. And there's all these, he's making all these references to Tupac in that particular line. But I came away from that article with a dozen insights to that rap battle that I'd never had before in terms of just exactly how much he was hammering them.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, again, I like rap. I'm not a super fan, but even like a regular rap battle, I'll watch it and the crowd will be like, "Oh,
yeah.
What did he say? Well, I didn't catch it."
I never ever thought to even look up stuff for 8 Mile. I enjoyed the movie enough, but you're right. In those rap battles, I don't even understand why some of those are like, moments.
Yeah.
Because I was like, huh? I was like, okay. Well, I mean, if they think it is, I guess it is.
I'm going to find that article.
Yeah.
And you can link it in the description because it's fascinating in and of itself. But then having seen the movie again since reading that article, it gave me a much greater appreciation for the film, Eminem in general, especially that ending.
That's a good one.
Clarence parents have a real good marriage.
They sure do. They sure do.
Well, I mean, the thing about that is that he's winning by admitting defeat.
Sure.
Because he starts on Clarence and or Papa Doc and saying this is what's wrong with you, but then when he pivots and starts talking about him, I am white trash and
he
proud of it.
takes away everything
Yep.
that the other guy could say, and again, the article points this out. But when he turns and begins the thing with everybody from the 313, he immediately gets everyone on his side.
Exactly,
and
dismissing
he's already
the battle
setting
itself.
up. This guy he's already setting up the insult coming.
Yeah.
Oh God, it makes it seem a lot more brilliant than I ever realized the first time.
Yeah. So. I'll tell you another movie that still blows my mind is American Psycho. And I still don't necessarily know what it's about. And every time, because I think there's something more there than even like a deeper exploration. Like you'll read articles about like, this is, basically a personification of all the greed in, Wall Street in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Okay. I understand that part. And then the murders are murders and murders and executions.
Yeah.
And it's mergers and acquisitions.
Yeah.
But I think there's more there to the America part of it. To be like he's working himself into being this ideal and doing 1,000 crunches a day and watching all this pornography and consuming this culture. It's almost like Patrick Bateman is becoming America. In that particular character, not even necessarily in that era, even though obviously it was about that. But I think there's more subtext in that character and in that story because it's so zany and it's so insane how things unfold and how we learn about how they
There's
unfold.
even more context in the sequel starring Mila Kunis.
Ooh, yeah.
Have you seen it?
No,
Good
I'm kidding.
call.
I've seen it. It's terrible.
No,
She's terrible in it, and I love her.
well, apparently Seth MacFarlane likes to announce when he announces her for anything, he goes, "An American Psycho 2's." And he's like, yeah, she hates it when I say that.
That's awesome.
The thing that you're saying there about American Psycho is interesting because I do come away from that movie saying that none of it happened. It was all in his head. But that said, it could be the fact that this is roiling inside a lot of people and other people do go over the line and do this type of thing. He just happens to be the one person who doesn't, and thank God he doesn't or whatever. But other people out there are just as powder keg as he is, and they do end up blowing up.
Can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
Can we maybe interpret that he does some of it, but not all of it? Like, I always felt like that homeless guy he kills was like, why don't you get a fucking job? I always felt like that one could be real.
Yeah.
And
There's
that
no
the
reason to
others
say that it's not.
were fantasy.
Other than the fact that all the other ones are considered not by the end of it.
Right.
But also you get, because almost the entire movie is from his perspective, right? That's one of the questions that we had recently, except for the hooker. You do have a brief shot of her before he pulls up. Did he kill her? Did he kill the other girl? That's a possibility too, because he's renting this other apartment, and that's why it blows my mind, because I don't know. I've seen that movie, probably a dozen times at this point, and I still don't know where reality stops and fantasy begins. But you could be right. It could be that he does none of it.
Well, there's a reason why Mary Harron made Willem Dafoe do 3 different kind of takes on those things, because there's one where he thinks he's done it. There's one where he doesn't know anything, and then there's another one that I guess he doesn't think he's done it at all. So there's like 3 different kind of modes, and she used all different ones. So, I mean, it becomes problematic though when the Jared Leto character isn't even dead by the end of it. But you're right. There could be something where he didn't kill him.
Yeah, because the cop's not after him for the homeless guy.
Right.
Nobody would ever suspect him of that. Yep. That one feels like one he could have done, and then maybe he starts to fantasize about getting away with killing other people in his life. I don't know.
Yeah, because I mean, he's calling the escort service, and then he's picking up this other girl. You know, I don't know. That movie is really, really interesting to me. I read the book a long time ago, and I don't really like how the way Bret Easton Ellis writes. Just it's too scattered for me, and it's too, maybe it's because he was taking serious drugs while he was writing this.
Could be.
But like I like watching his stuff a lot more than I do reading it. Same with Rules of Attraction. Same with Less Than Zero. So I don't know. It just that's something that if I see an article on American Psycho and like the background of it and like how it was made, what they were thinking, I'm going to read that article for sure.
Yeah.
All right, you want to do a couple more?
Let's do a couple more.
All right. Oh, well, these are always fun. My question is, what bad movies have a good movie in them? What I mean is that movies that either have a great concept or have a few great moments in them. However, the film ultimately isn't good. Example of this, for me, is in Funny People.
It's a good one.
I like the concept of Funny People, and I think it's a good representation of Adam Sandler's career. I agree. It's also the one Hollywood movie that shows Aussie Rules football, and I think Eric Bana is great in it. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's a good 30 to 40 minutes too long, I agree, and they try to cram too many celebrities in it. Great example. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that is a great example because Funny People actually has funny moments in it.
Yeah.
But all the things that he just said in there is too long. It's too long is the main thing. But the story itself, he gets cancer, he loses cancer.
Yep. He loses cancer.
He loses it. I lost my cancer.
You got peanut butter in my cancer.
Did I ever tell you the story on the podcast of when in '98 I got a job with the Muscular Dystrophy Association doing fundraising? It was like my first real job. And my buddy Josh was planning to move back down here, and we were going to come to Nashville, but it was like 9 months away. So we were talking on the phone whenever we were catching up. And I said, "Hey, I got a job working for muscular dystrophy." And he's like, "For the disease itself?" I didn't know it employed anybody.
I think there is a good movie to be had from the concept of Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Ooh. That is a bold choice.
The problem is I didn't read the original material on which this is based, because I know that they came up with a lot of these kind of like, Pride and Prejudice and Zombies and stuff like that, where they're taking like real things. This isn't based on anything real. It's just somebody imagining Abraham Lincoln as a vampire hunter. But if they made it more campy and with more jokes and
not
stuff,
so
like
straight.
They played this so straight, and I remember when the movie was being made, I was like, "Oh, that should be pretty fun in some way." And then I watched it, and it's so like deathly serious that Abraham Lincoln is a vampire hunter, and the movie is literally watching the movie is so hard. It's so dark and so whatever professionals were on that to try to make the film look good were, I think they weren't in the union or something when they shot this. But if you take that concept and make it like an actual like funny movie, I think it would be good. And that's the way I took the title. You don't make a title Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter and not try to make that funny.
No, you got to go for it, man.
Right.
They're not really going for any. I haven't seen that. They're not really going for like campy or anything.
Played it way too straight.
It's basically his second job at night after he's done presidenting.
Yeah, presidenting. So, nice.
Yeah.
I'm going to say something I never thought I would make any kind of argument for, and that's Iron Man 3. And now I hate this movie. I think I dislike it more than 2, and I think everyone dislikes 2. But there was enough good going for it. Specifically, there's that fantastic scene where Tony calls his suit piece by piece, and he's tied up, but he only has like one arm with a cannon or whatever, and he has to try and gymnastics his way through this fight scene piece by piece without the whole suit. And I think that's a really clever scene, played really well, not super overcut. They really misplayed the Mandarin. Again, Ben Kingsley playing a villain, but halfway through the movie decides to call him a drunk actor.
Yep.
But prior to that, he was pretty menacing in those television ads. He attacks Tony's house, supposedly. I don't guess he was there. Maybe he was. And I think there's something to play with that. That an international terrorist with power and a sizable army decides to go after the most powerful superhero in the known world.
Yep.
Personally, I think there's a really cool arc there. And I even like the idea of Tony crash landing in the middle of nowhere and being away from a big city, away from his lab, and all the things that we usually see him with. But the way that the film veers both to this kid, and I don't think that relationship plays at all. I really don't. And I think it's just a casting mistake because that kid has talent, I think. But then they're also trying to take this extremist story with Guy Pearce and his fire body weapon thing that he's been making soldiers out of, and they put that in Tennessee too. Then they turn what's her name? Pepper Potts. They turn Piper Potts into a fucking extremist weapon and just go full silly at the end.
Just so she can remove her clothes, by the way.
Yes, basically.
That's the only reason she burns through her clothes.
The movie makes way more mistakes than it does good steps. But I do believe somewhere along the way in the screenwriting process, they had something good. And it's got a little Spider-Man 3 syndrome with too many characters, too many villains thrown in and all this. But there's enough nuggets there that I think you could have sold me on it better if you'd have played it outright.
That's a great call.
Thank you.
I got another 3.
Another 3?
Why do
Alien 3?
Why do I hate... Now, that's a good one, too, actually. Why do I hate The Dark Knight Rises so much?
Because reasons. Because it, again... I almost can't blame Nolan for this because clearly we were going to jump forward 8 years and see the Joker come back, but he died, and so we can't. So we was forced to pivot. I don't know why you dislike it so much because I do believe, especially in the first half, there's a lot of good shit. Like both those beats with the cops when he comes racing by the cop car in the tunnel in the dark, and the older cop says to the rookie guy, "Oh, you're in for a show tonight, son." And then that same cop comes back later when Matthew Modine gets burned by the Batcopter and cornered like a rat or whatever. He's like, "I think you got the wrong animal there, sir." And I think Joseph Gordon-Levitt has a nice little arc. And I love the Bane Batman fight where he beats him. Now,
I do.
That may just be because I am such a huge fan of that run in the comics, Nightfall and all that. But I think that plays really, really well.
There's things in that movie though. The thing where I got worried was when I saw the trailer and there's the bomb blowing up the football field and the guy's running down the field and Hines Ward and scores the touchdown, and it just happens, it just happens to stop at the end zone or whatever, and he turns around and it's so un-Nolan-esque to have a scene like that in a movie. The whole Bane and Marion Cotillard stuff and everything is it bogs that movie down. Yeah,
absolutely.
This is another one where I feel like if they could have just made it Bane and not had this bomb plot that's in here. I think it stops being so bogged down by a whole bunch of like bullshit details and stuff like that.
I could do without all the sneaking around Viva la Resistance crap that goes on.
Oh yeah.
And I'm because of how much I like that opening Bane scene with Batman, the final fight is just this huge letdown.
It's absolutely.
The dialogue is terrible. "No, came back to stop you." Awesome. And then they just coldly punch each other in the street for a while after an amazing fight earlier in the movie. And because he healed his back in prison and climbed out, this time Batman's not going to get beat. Because remember, in the beginning of the movie, his leg is so bad, he has to put on some futuristic brace that lets him kick bricks. That leg didn't heal in prison. Yeah. Right? Just his back, which is still kind of a miracle anyway.
Yeah, he did a bunch of push-ups, so everything's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything's fine. Push-ups fix everything.
And there's the giant. I think you're talking about the same fight, but there's the giant like mob fight that's happening during all that.
Everybody's ignoring Batman,
right? And it's just everything about that just feels like very un-Nolan. Like
that's what it is.
His stuff is a little bit. I think he does a little bit less. He gets more with less or whatever. How do you...
No, I agree. I think he excels when he's telling a simpler story. Now, Memento obviously is complicated, but it's based on a simplistic point of view, basically. And when he could do that, and when he could do Obviously, The Dark Knight is the relationship between Batman and the Joker and what they can and can't do. Same thing with Batman Begins and Ra's al Ghul and everything. I think, and with Dunkirk, he takes a story, he tells it expertly. But when you get too many elements to that story, I think there's a limitation to maybe his interest. I mean, I think about like in Dark Knight Rises, which this is my pick, obviously, of what there's a good movie.
You mean
in
the
there.
thing we've been talking about for 10 minutes?
Yeah, exactly. But there's that Thomas Lennon scene in there where he's just like, I don't like your cartilage, or I don't like your knee, or whatever. You know, there's no cartilage left in that thing. Like, it's a goofy scene that's played for laughs. When, not to say that there's no humor in Nolan movies, but that it was just like out of place. You know?
The thing that is, to me, the hallmark of a Nolan film is how smart it is.
Yeah.
You think of something like Inception and even The Prestige, because I've said this before, but just trying to figure out how they storyboarded and plotted out The Prestige would break my brain. And this movie just doesn't have much of that, and in place of it, it's got a lot of stupid shit, like the erase everything bad about you on the internet, USB stick, Batman sneaking back into the city somehow, healing his back in a prison, the whole hokey, like you were saying, Marion Cotillard with Bane, There's a bunch of stupid shit in this movie instead of smart shit, and I think that was because he had to rush and come up with a last-minute kind of replacement for the movie. The studio wasn't going to not make the movie, and I don't think Nolan was going to let go of what would have been his baby. Same with Raimi and Spider-Man 3. He wasn't going to quit. It's my thing, but the studio wasn't going to not put Venom in there.
But he had such a great character to base on with Bane. I mean, Bane was played the way that I guess he is in the comic books, where he's a super genius in addition to being this hulking beast.
I kind of feel like the movie misplays him a little. He's more of a genius than anything else in the comics. He's smarter than Batman. But he also takes this serum that he injects by biting on a thing in his mask, and that juices him up to the size. He looked perfect in Batman and Robin. He looked exactly like he did in the comics. Of course, that movie made him an idiot. But I think that was what was disappointing to me, is that instead of showing me him being smart, somebody just told him where the fortress was with all the, you know what I mean? Talia, whatever her name, Al Ghul or whatever, just told him everything he needed to know. And whereas the comic, he deduces Batman's identity because he's just smart enough to do it. And his hulking frame was always secondary in nature. And I think even in that storyline, he defeats him mentally and then breaks his back. That's a final insult. Whereas the movie it kind of wants to be in the middle there. It wants him to be a genius but not show any of it. It wants him to be really strong but not... Because, again, in the comics, he would have been twice as big as Batman in that fight. And in Dark Knight Rises, they're the same size. It's just that Batman is old and slow, and Bane is younger and strong. I don't know.
Well, I think if you had played up something like that fight, and maybe even put that towards the end, or there's something good in there. Yeah. I mean, I loved the trailers for it. I was so excited.
Darkness is your ally.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's such a great song. Oh, man.
Yeah, that's, again, even all the things I just ripped on about Bane, I love that fight. That fight's so awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something good in there. I got a surprise question for you.
Oh, sweet. Those always turn out perfect.
Yeah, all right. My question, what are some underseen but excellent movie/TV performances by great actors? Performances as good as some of their best but far less known roles.
Okay.
There's a couple that come up. Now, I don't know if we call Ben Stiller a great actor. I guess that's another debate for another time.
He's tried a few times. Zoolander, obviously.
Right. Totally. There was a period of time where Stiller was not always doing comedies. And believe it or not, it was around the same time he did There's Something About Mary, which is what elevated him and everything. But during that time, he was doing stuff like Zero Effect and everything. He also was in a movie called Permanent Midnight, where he's the writer of the Alf TV show. Yeah. And he is amazing in Permanent Midnight. And the movie is not great, but he is. If we're going to go with great actor, we'll go with Tilda Swinton. There's a movie called I Am Love that she is fantastic in. I don't know if the movie is pretty good, I guess. But she's excellent in it, and I don't think very many people have seen it.
It's funny because when you mentioned Ben Stiller, I thought you were going to go with your friends and neighbors.
I thought you were going to go Flirting with Disaster.
Oh yeah,
no, yeah.
I guess Flirting with Disaster is a little bit more
straight comedy.
Yeah. But your friends and neighbors, like that's some dark shit.
Yes,
in that
it
thing.
is.
Has he been in an Alexander Payne
shit.
movie?
Yeah, no kidding.
Huh?
Has he been in an Alexander Payne movie?
Greenberg.
No.
That's Noah Baumbach.
Yeah, that's no.
He needs to be in an Alexander Payne movie.
Oh yeah, that would be good.
I got 2 answers for this, and I think I probably mentioned them both before. But one is Will Smith in 6 Degrees of Separation. And this qualifies because almost nobody has seen that movie. Now, I do believe he was famous enough from the television show and his early rap career that you would call him famous back then.
Yeah, this was 93.
Yeah, but this was one of his first roles, and he clearly is trying to stretch beyond the sitcom as we know him as. And then in this movie, he basically tricks a rich white couple into thinking he's Sidney Poitier's son. Manages to stay with them for a little bit. I think he steals a couple of things. And the movie is kind of interesting because it's shot with the rich white people at various parties telling the story, and then it flashes back to the events happening. He's fantastic in that movie, flashing some of his future dramatic chops. My other one is going to be Matt Damon in Courage Under Fire. Way before he was famous. He's super young and skinny in this movie, and he only has a couple of scenes, but he's the key that starts unraveling everything for Denzel to figure it out, because he basically breaks down by the water's edge and tells the truth finally. But, he's got scenes early on where he's guarded and cautious and nervous, and you can tell he's hiding secrets. But he's also been through a lot of shit, chain smoked cigarettes, and it's just way before you knew who Matt Damon was. And it's one of those movies that I just feel like kind of time forgot. And everybody's good in that. Lou Diamond Phillips is a sneaky good in that movie. And of course, Denzel is outstanding. But Matt Damon has a small but really important role, and he just nails it.
And he starved himself essentially.
Yes, he did.
For that
he
role.
did the Christian Bale, Robert De Niro, physically transform my body.
And Christian Bale, get an Oscar for it.
I'm going to be honest here. I'm worried we're going to lose Christian Bale.
Yeah, he goes crazy
because when he did, was it The Machinist?
The Machinist, yeah.
Where he was basically near death skinny, and now he's doing Dick Cheney, where he looks 300 pounds, and I just don't.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Oh my God.
I mean, he gained a lot for American Hustle, but he's gone even bigger.
Oh, yes. Look it up.
I got to see that.
You're going to be shocked. And I just felt like that can't be good for a body.
No.
I'm worried about it. He needs to be a little less dedicated.
I mean, it may not be good to go back and forth quickly. I don't know how quickly he's doing this.
Yeah, I don't
back
either.
And forth. I mean, it's never good to get that skinny. For
No.
sure.
No.
And probably not very good to get that fat either.
Oh.
But
Show Chris.
Yeah, that's beefy.
Yeah.
It's a big boy right there.
Mhm.
You could probably look at that picture a couple seconds and not know it was Christian Bale.
So my answer is Christian Slater in cuffs.
Oh. There you go. Absolutely.
I don't know.
Not pump up the volume.
I don't know. I was thinking Christians, and I really liked him in cuffs.
Yeah.
No, my actual answer is John Turturro. We've talked about. It gets not lauded enough for how versatile he is and how great he is. We just literally watched him in The Big Lebowski recently, and it's just the funniest part of that movie. It's just amazing. But he was in this movie called Cradle Will Rock.
Yeah.
Which was about the blacklisting and the communism, McCarthyism type of thing, and how that made its way into stage acting, and the unions versus the individuality of the performances and everything. And so John Turturro plays this writer and he's an actor actually, who's trying to work with Hank Azaria to write this play and to get this play out there. But then there's this big union strike. And he plays this really complex character about he's a family man. He's got a few kids, and does he stay with the union and stay safe and keep his family okay, or does he go with his heart and actually do this? And the final scene of them, I'm getting chills just thinking about it. The final scene of this movie is just some of the most thrilling, chilling acting, because he eventually just says, "Fuck it, I'm going to perform because this is what I do. This is my life. This is how I should act." And he just acts the fuck out of this part. It's a musical and it's about the whole movement and everything. It's really, really compelling. It's not the greatest movie in the world, but just for the performances alone, I think it's worth watching. And he's got probably the best one.
Could have answered your cast question with this, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Credible Rock, because it's got so many people in it.
Joan Cusack, Bill Murray, Tenacious D is in it. John Cusack, Ruben Blades, plays Frida Kahlo's husband.
Oh, Pablo Neruda?
Yeah. But yeah, it's a really good cast, really good performances. I would recommend it for sure.
Looking around, I don't see
Diego
any Rubens.
Rivera, sorry. He plays Diego Rivera, not Pablo Neruda.
Yeah.
I just did a quiz show quote that nobody caught, but it's all right.
What'd you say?
I said, I'm looking around, I don't see any Rubens.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, guys. That'll do it for this week. I thought that was fun, though.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, I had a good time.
Taking a road trip.
Takes a little detour from our usual, I guess, structure thing. But keep going to Facebook, keep going to SoundCloud, keep going to Twitter, and giving us your thoughts about, various things. I've enjoyed doing this Facebook
cool,
thing.
isn't it?
Yeah, I haven't done comments since the old YouTube days when we first started. And I enjoy this a lot more than I did the YouTube.
Well, yeah, because you're getting people that actually like your content and want to have a discussion.
I guess there's less too. There's not so many comments, and it's not like whack-a-mole when somebody says something and you correct them on it, and then somebody else says that exact same thing later and whatever. But
has it been generally positive?
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of either suggestions or you guys forgot this, but they're not pissed off about it. One of the reasons why I even thought of Tilda Swinton for I Am Love and everything was that somebody, after we did our actresses thing, was like, what about Tilda Swinton? And I was I went through I was like, God, she is in a lot of she's great in a lot of things. And just, it's just one we forgot. But yeah, those are the type of comments I like, even if we've forgotten something and it's a bad glaring thing or whatever. People suggest it and it's like, oh yeah, we should have considered that.
Right.
Damn, that sucks. But at the same time, I love the discussion that comes.
It is great. We can still interact. Obviously, you listen to this when you're commuting or when you're at work or when you're at home. But yeah, if you want to actually communicate with us directly, go to Twitter, go to Facebook, go to SoundCloud, any of that stuff.
Yeah.
All right, that'll do it for this week. It's Chris Atkinson, Jeremy Scott, and Barrett Sher. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit Cinemasins.com.
I've got urine in my bladder. I need to get it out. He's suddenly going over to keep Jeremy getting his hands on that sweet, sweet canned air.
Does he actually suck it? He breathes?
Yeah, because there's O2 in there, and oxygen gets you high if you do straight oxygen.
Oxygen makes you high.
There's other chemicals in there, and then when we worked at the movie theater, we had him to clean out dust from projectors and shit. My favorite trick is turn it upside down, and you can temporarily freeze shit. Turn it upside down and spray a pencil, and it gets all icy and
nice.
Yeah, we wasted a lot of canned air, but just didn't huff it.
That's how you can break a lock, right?
Probably. Yeah. I mean, at least the science principle behind it.
It's like the T2, right?
Yes, exactly like that.
Fox 3, standing by. We had 5 people in the studio last night and couldn't record any of them.
We sure did have a nice talk for an hour, though.
We recorded the best podcast that no one will ever hear.
This is not the greatest podcast in the world. This is just a tribute.
If we get bored in the middle of the episode, we can just pick up a guitar and start strumming.
Or smashing.
Yes, let's definitely smash all the Gibson guitars.
Smashy. Thank you.
Make sure that you huff that entire can.
That'll be like the Pez dispenser in Seinfeld. I'll look down and giggle at it every time I see it.
You sexy motherfucker.
Skeet, motherfucker. Till the sweat drips down my balls. Just skeet, motherfucker. Skeet, motherfucker.
I do love those old Dave Chappelle things when he was doing Little John.
Yeah.
Yeah. Skeet, 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 skeet. There was an early entry in the Urban Dictionary about skeeting. And when it first came out, when that Get Low song came out.
Yeah.
And the example was, sorry, honey, I accidentally skeeted on your ass.
Still don't know what it means.
It means to ejaculate.
I like to play this game lately. Okay, so when I was a kid, the game we played in church when Jeff and I were bored, my brother and I were bored, we flipped through the hymnal. And then you'd say the name of the title of the song, and then you'd say Under the Sheets. And it was fun because 30-40% of the time it produced humorous results. Now, as a full-grown 42-year-old adult, I was playing the same game the other day on the Ask Reddit subreddit, where I pretend my answer, no matter what the question, would be anal. And it's actually got a higher success rate of humor because the questions are all worded very humorously, like, what did the weird kid in your school do to get expelled? Anal. Right? What's one thing girls could do to get a guy's attention better? Anal. And it's just a very fun game to play.
Yeah.
And yes, I do sometimes have too much time on my hands. That's one of my, basically what I do is I go to maybe 6 or 7 different subreddits throughout the day and see what's new there, the ones that I like the most. And that's one of them. But yeah, when I'm really bored, I just go deep. I keep clicking next page, and just responding, mentally, anal to all the
You don't actually type it?
No, because that would probably not be a good look.
I feel like Reddit was created basically just to waste time, right?
It's half wasting time and half discovering content because I can get better, faster news on the news subreddit than I often even can on Twitter.
Really?
And it's extra bad these days because on Twitter, you see something trending and you see that it's like, oh, this is a news item, right?
Yeah.
Like Las Vegas shooting, and you click on it and you have to scroll through 50 hot political takes or someone trying to make jokes before you even find like a legit link to what the latest news is. Whereas if I can go over to our news, once a major event happens, basically one post about that story will rise to the top, and then they'll just keep updating it with, like when the Boston bombing thing happened, I was on that subreddit on a specific thread for hours because this guy was in Boston on the street the cops were shooting and running down, listening to the police scanner and giving updates to everything the police said.
On Reddit?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was amazing. And like I knew that they had got him before any news outlet reported it.
That's crazy.
Anyway.
Yeah, on Twitter you got to sort through like Thursday feelings or something like that.
Exactly. I hate, and it's
Monday motivation.
A common thing, but I hate on Twitter where you see something trending and you click on it and you have no idea why it's trending.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing that I can't stand about Twitter the most.
Like you'll see, okay, example, this probably didn't happen. Beyonce's trending. I click Beyonce and all I get are reaction GIFs. Like Beyonce and it'll be like a GIF and I'm like, well, what did she do? Who said something about her?
Or it'll say, or the first thing that'll come up will be like, Beyonce announces new album. I mean, you're like, oh, that must be it. And then you find out that tweet or whatever, or that news was like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it's not why she's trending. And so you go through like several others until finally, and then people tweet about their stupid reality shows too.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Like I'll see a name and I'm like, why is Frank trending?
Yeah.
And you'll click on Frank.
And it's like a Big Brother contestant.
It's a whole bunch of people like, I can't believe Frank would do that. And you're like, I wouldn't either. Who the fuck is Frank?
I feel good about our levels.
Skeet.
All right.
Skeet, motherfucker.